convenience thing too, because now you're going to know if that GFCI is bad. Hi everybody, my name is Michael Smith, Phoenix Sales, and welcome to our new episode, Rise Up with Phoenix, the podcast. Today we have a very special guest. The guy, he's a myth, he's the man, he's the legend. It's Dave Schick, the end user specialist with Eaton Wiring Devices. Let's talk about some of the pain points that electrical contractors have, which my team hears regularly. You just hear in general, talking to anybody that ever interacts or has to deal with a GFCI or a USB. And the biggest issue is they either need to make the box bigger, the outlet box needs to be bigger.
No, that's not going to happen.
Or you need to make that device slimmer. So one of the issues is GFCI is too deep, USB is too deep. And what our response always is, it's a lot of electronics packed in to this. This is not just a receptacle. There's circuitry involved. This is a life safety device essentially. And then when we talk about the USBs, you're talking about, again, not just a receptacle, you have electronics involved protecting all our new smart devices. So
and yeah, you're talking about a bigger device. You know, this device right here is 5 amps. So yeah, it's a lot of technology that's crammed into a little device.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that, you know, what we've done is, and I've been out talking to contractors in the field, I've been out talking to distributors, MEP consulting engineers. And what's interesting is that we're hearing that at Eaton. So we have come upon some new chip technology that's going to be able to put our devices and get them on a diet, get them a lot smaller for a lower profile.
Okay. So new technology, faster, I assume, and smaller?
Faster and smaller.
Okay, and that's the name. So again, that gives you guys the ability to make that footprint for the GFCI, that receptacle. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have to have the manufacturers of the outlet boxes make a deeper box. They don't have to do that.
I think they would volunteer to do that, but unfortunately, no, they don't need to do that.
Because now you're talking about National Electric Code and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So talk to me about the GFCI, because that's something everybody has in their house, and then we'll get to the USB, because we can talk about, I have some theories on the USB, but the GFCI, what have they done? They've made it smaller. Is there anything else we need to know about that?
Well, yeah, we've done a couple of things. So this is our old GFCI. You can see, basically it's about, I'm going to say about 1.5 inches deep.
Okay.
And we got feedback from the field, especially in the 18 cubic inch boxes, that, they need to have a lower profile so you can get that wiring space, because it does take up about 1.5 inches in the box.
Yeah.
So what we've done is, and I just happen to have a cutaway of our new GFCI that's going to come out in September. You can actually see that you've got about 2 inches of wiring room now in the GFCI. So that's going to be a real big advantage. And we've done a couple of other things too, because the feedback was, could you put pressure plates onto the GFCI to give it that real secure connection? So we did that.
Okay.
We actually made the buttons slightly bigger, because let's face it, everybody in this industry has big fat fingers, don't we? Yeah.
Right.
And it's really hard to reset these GFCI buttons. Another thing that we've done is that we now have a little LED located on the reset button, so when it loses power, that'll light up, and the consumer will know how to reset their GFCI. And then we have the end of life LED, which is located right here. Mm-hmm. So that's that red LED that comes on because it's the UL943, which is a self-test GFCI.
Okay.
So when it can't self-test itself, that's when the light will come on and it has to be replaced.
All right. So the indicator light that's on there, that saves the homeowner from having to scramble to figure, why is this not working?
Absolutely.
Because again, in most cases, people have a GFCI and then they'll have multiple circuits downstream.
Yes.
So that happens in my house. Like, we have a GFCI that is in line, and then downstream, I think we have the coffee machine, couple blenders. Geez Louise, I think we even have our big freezer in the basement on there too. So
I'd recommend putting the freezer on a breaker button.
well, I did.
Okay,
I've
good.
done that. But in most cases, people will then, the only way they're going to know is when the coffee's not being made or the freezer has defrosted involuntarily.
Kind of like the one woman, we had a problem with the GFCIs. It wasn't ours, it was the competition, but they actually opened up the freezer and this wonderful smell came wafting out of.
Yeah, so that's how you find out. So with this light being on, now you can just walk around and you'll know which one you need to reset. Yeah. Okay. So that's a really big advantage. And the end of life that's just there. That's a UL requirement, but it's also a convenience thing too, because now you're going to know if that GFCI is bad versus having to guess.
You know, the big thing was, how often did you retest your GFCIs in your house?
No one retests their GFCIs. I mean, maybe I do every once in a while. You do, but I would say the majority of people don't. No differently than I'm one of the few people that actually vacuums out my smoke detectors a couple times a year to get the dust out there. But I don't, unless you're in this industry, you don't know that.
Well, you know, and the rule is basically every 30 days you're supposed to test your GFCIs.
Well, that's a rule, but it's not a law.
It's on the instructions.
Right.
But believe it or not, I have Arrowheart GFCI still in my house, and it was on the instructions.
Right. But how many people read the instructions?
That they don't.
So what we're doing is, we're making it as dummy-proof as we can. And I do the big buttons thing is a huge deal too. I do like that because I will tell you, like even my mom who has arthritis and her fingers are kind of banged up, the GFCI that she had in her beach house, like the house, was very difficult for her to reset.
Yes.
So what she would end up doing, which I'm like, I can't believe you're doing this because you're from the electrical, she would use like a fork or a knife to like reset it. I'm like, Mom, you realize if that slips? And her response was, it's only 120 volts. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm not going to mess with you. But I think that those three things, that I think they're important. But the fact that we're taking that pain point away, we're giving the electrician more space to wire it up.
Yep.
Because listen, now they are going to say that that's still not enough space. Because you give them a little bit more, they're going to want more.
Absolutely.
And I get that because having wired stuff up, if you have something in series or parallel, you can have multiple wires coming in there, and there's never enough space. Then you take the wire connectors too. That's always an issue. So now, when will these be available? What's the timeline? What are we looking at here from our friends at Eaton Wiring Devices?
Mid-September, they're going to be available in the DCs and available for the distributors to purchase.
Is this a rolling transition? So are all GFCIs going to go right to the new lower profile, or are you going to have to order a different SKU?
It's going to be based on a certain amount of time frames.